This is the W5FC repeater, PL110.9.
Mr. Chairman, I need to make myself very clear. If we uplink now, Skynet will be in control of your military.
But you'll be in control of Skynet, right?
That is correct, sir.
Skynet.
Does anyone need to use the repeater before we begin the 9 p.m. Skynet? This is WB5OZL. My name is Brenda, and I'll be your net control for this session of the DARC Skynet. Skynet is a weekly net called every Saturday night at 9 p.m. concerning the subject of astronomy. Our purpose is to help amateurs become more familiar with the nighttime and daytime sky, astronomy, and space in general. This net is open to all amateurs interested in this topic, and we encourage your participation, comments, and suggestions for this net. Stations with priority or emergency traffic may enter the net at any time by using the # sign break break and your call sign. Is there any emergency or priority traffic? This is a directed net. Please do not transmit without direction from net control. That would be me, and stations are reminded to ID at the end of your transmissions. This weekly net operates on 146.88 megahertz with a PL tone of 110.9. Check-in, CO Echolink are also possible using the W5FC-R station ID or Echolink node 37247. Tonight's topics, astronomy charts, pictures, and live audio-video links are available online. Go to www.w5fc.org right now for the complete list. Remember to tell others about this popular net. You can check into the net electronically by going to the club website, w5fc.org. Look for tonight's announcement and click on the hot link to check in. We will acknowledge you on the air, and don't worry, if you want to check in via voice, we will continue to do that too, over air and Echolink. All amateur radio operators are welcome. You need not be a member of any amateur radio club to participate. The net is 90 minutes long and is structured in several parts. 1. General announcements. 2. Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas events. 3. National Space Society events. 4. Recent astronomical discoveries. 5. Discussion topic of the evening. 6. What's Up. 7. Space exploration and space history. 8. Constellation of the week. 9. Space launches of the week. 10. Visible satellite passages over the next couple of days. 11. Astronomical Q&A. And 12. 73 round. All amateurs licensed to transmit on this frequency are invited to check in. We currently have the following people checked in via w5fc.org. We have KE5ICX, Tom in Corpus Christi, K5MCD, Cody, Dallas, the city, not the submarine. I didn't know there was a submarine, Dallas. AG5PM, Rich in Blockwall, WB50ZL, Brenda in Dallas, W5BLT, Bill in Garland, KF5JHA, Chaz and Bob the Cat, Milky Way Galaxy Solar System, AA5AH, Robert Richardson, NT5TM, Tony, Bird City. Okay. So we'll now do voice check-ins. We'll start with short time. Stand by, please.
This is Whiskey Bravo 4, Mike Foxtrot, India, WB4MFI, Ted, Dallas, handheld, low power.
Okay, for short time we have WB4MFI Ted in Dallas and N5 Oscar Foxtrot Clay. Clay, I missed your QTH. Could you please come back with it?
Yes, it's the seat. It's the solar seat.
Okay, I copy that you are in Mesquite. Next, we'll go to general check-ins. Please come now.
This is Kilo Golf 5, Whiskey Victor Lima, James in Carrollton.
Okay, we only picked up one, and that's KG5WVL. Looks like Whiskey Victor Lima, I think. James in Carrollton. Let's move on to any Echolink check-ins. Please come now.
Alpha India 5, Oscar Lima, Dan in Fort Worth.
Kilo Foxtrot 5, Zulu, Bravo, Limaville, Farmers Branch.
Okay, we have AI5OL, Dan in Fort Worth, KF5ZBL, Bill in Farmers Branch, and looking at the list here, it looks like we have KD5LQD, Jimmy in Dallas, KN4VCE, Mike, and that's it. Okay, any other check-ins from any other mode? Please come now.
This is Whiskey 5, Golf, Uniform, Sierra, Gus, far, far northeast Dallas.
Okay, we got W5GUS Gus in far, far, far north Dallas. Okay, well, we'll be doing some more check-ins presently. Meanwhile, let's get started. Do we have any general announcements for this evening's net? These can be ham, astronomical, space, or of general interest to licensed hams. Please come now.
November 5, Bravo, Bravo.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike. Kilo India 5, Papa Golf Mike.
Okay, we got N5 Bravo Bravo. Don't have you checked in, but I will. So you have an announcement? Please come now.
Yes, Brenda. I checked in using the web form. I was entering the form as you were announcing them earlier, so you probably didn't see me. I want to remind everybody that the Irving Ham Fest is always the first Saturday of March. So this year, this is in exactly 2 weeks from today, on Saturday, March the 1st, starting at 8 a.m. at the Bingo Hall here in Irving, where we've had the ham fest before. As of this morning, I think 87% of the tables are sold out. So if you want to get a table, you need to get it now. Can't guarantee there'll be tables available, next week. If you have any questions, you can contact me, November 5 Bravo Bravo. Thank you. In 5BB.
Thank you, Bill. We also have on the electronic check-ins, we have November Victor 5 Foxtrot, Virginia. Next, Tony, NT5TM, you have an announcement?
Sure, I have a few. I hope Travis, KI5PGM, will talk about our lecture and lab for this month, since the Dallas Amateur Radio Club lecture and lab has gotten started again for 2025. But I'll just cover a few nets here. We have The Hole coming up for our Afterglow movie discussion. This 2009 movie is not one I have seen, but it does have an ominous title. You never hear about a happy movie with a title like that. The Dallas Amateur Radio Club meeting on the air will be tomorrow at 7 p.m. All hams are welcome to check in and share what's been going on in their ham world. Dallas Racies will have their net tomorrow on this repeater at 8 p.m. Everyone is welcome to listen to the training, but of course only Racies appointees can check in. And please don't forget, we have a ham fixins this Monday. I hope you'll make something warm before the Arctic blast hits on Tuesday. And please share that recipe with your fellow hams. We're going to need it. NT5TM, back to net.
Thank you, Tony. Okay, we have KI5PGM, Travis. Did you have announcements?
Oh, sure, I do now. I would love to tell you about the Dallas Amateur Radio Club's Lecture and Labs coming up on Saturday, February 22nd. It's at 10 a.m. at the same place that we have our club meetings, which is the Medical Center there on 635 and West Chapel. We'll get started around 10, and the cost is also $10. This is a clock kit, multicolor. It's great for going in a go box or perhaps by your bedside table. And the goal here is, hey, it's a cool project and I like it, but more importantly, if you are interested in learning to solder or practicing your soldering skills, this is a great way to get started. It's a very easy, beginner-friendly kit, and you'll have something nice to show off for it when it's all done. Details, as always, are on the W5SC.org homepage, and we hope to see you out there. This is Travis, KI5PGM, back to net.
Thank you, Travis. Other announcements? The AMSAT Radio Amateur Satellite Group has 3 nets available to Dallas residents. On Tuesday evenings at 8 p.m. Central, you can check in at the National AMSAT Net. Learn all about amateur satellites and how you can use them in amateur radio. The National AMSAT Net will bring the most up-to-date information on amateur satellites currently in use or new ones coming online. You will need Echolink installed and be registered. You can find the net under Groups and AMSAT. Also, a live audio link is available on their website, http://www.amsatnet.com/. This net originates in Houston, Texas. 2 local nets are available in Dallas. Both of these nets encourage active check-ins. You can ask questions of the net control as well as others checked in. AMSAT Net East, Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas, is every Tuesday at 8 p.m. on this repeater, 146.88 megahertz, PL 110.9 megahertz, Tuesdays. Tom, N5HYP, is net control. All are welcome to check in. First Tuesday of the month is DARC Club Night. No AMSAT East that night. Dallas AMSAT Net West is every Wednesday at 9 p.m. on the Arlington repeater, 147.14 megahertz, PL 110.9 megahertz, positive offset. All right, hosted nets next Monday night. Net at 7 p.m. It's the 3rd week of Ham Fixins Net's second helping. This Monday is the second helping of Ham Fixins Net. Bring your favorite or new recipes, cooking tips, or techniques. We wouldn't even mind a good restaurant review or 2. Just make sure to eat something before the net because you'll get hungry. Brenda, WB5OZL, is net control. Saturdays are the Night of Nets. where we keep the airwaves buzzing until midnight. Here's the lineup. TechNet, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. Q&A on all things ham radio related. There's also a swap meet, Rookies Corner, news and information, and ham radio events and contests. Alternating net control each week. Skynet from 9 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. Astronomy, space, and space exploration are the topics. Also news and information, satellite passes, and the constellation of the week. Join us popular net about ham's second most favorite hobby, astronomy. Alternating net controls. Afterglow Movie Net from 10:30 to midnight. Stand by while I reset. Will the Afterglow movie be a hit or the dreaded miss? Thumbs up or thumbs down? You make the call. More on this in a moment. First and third Sundays, Dallas Amateur Radio Club meeting on the air, MODA. What's going on in your ham world? Tell us. Also, learn about the club that maintains this popular repeater, the Dallas Amateur Radio Club. Club news and information, events, activities, including club meetings, lecture and lab, public service events, contests, and just general discussion. Everyone can check into this net. Daily, the ARRL net, National Traffic System Training Net, every night at 6:30 p.m. Central. Learn how message traffic is handled on this formal training net. Newbies are welcome to check in as this is a training net. The NTS also conducts an evening net on the Irving WA5 Charlie Kilo Foxtrot repeater 146.72 megahertz at 9:30 p.m. All are welcome to check in on any or all of these nets. Now, tonight's Afterglow info. Dane and Lucas, along with their mother, inexplicably moved from Brooklyn, New York to Beesonville, Oregon. Apparently, the place people want to go to restart their lives while drawing as little attention to themselves as possible. Mission accomplished until they meet the neighbor kid named Julie, who thinks it's time to tell the new neighbor kids about the trapdoor in the basement of their new home. Everyone, of course, thinks this trapdoor leads to an underground ICBM launch pad, Project Wildfire, or a Bond villain lair. Only a deranged mind would actually conceal something in this town of nothingness, which provides endless hours of observing paint drying or counting rust spots on old abandoned automobiles. But before they make the plunge into the basement trapdoor, they decide to visit former homeowner Creepy Carl, now running a haunted home flipping service. What they find out isn't exactly raising the home's property values. Join us for the low-budget Goonies movie The Hole from 2009, tonight at 10:30 p.m. You can keep up with all DARC events, nets, and activities by going to the club website, w5fc.org. We currently, we did that. Let me look and see if there's anyone else checked in on the electronic. No, they're not. Anybody else want to check in over the air here?
Kilo 5, Juliet, Delta Whiskey, John and Coppell.
Okay, we've got Kilo 5, Juliet, Delta Whiskey, John in Capel. Thanks for checking in, everybody. Next, the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas events, where and when you can look through a telescope. Going to call on Chaz KF5JHA to give us some information. Go ahead, Chaz.
Thank you, Brenda. Good evening, everyone. This is Chaz, KF5JHA. On February the 28th, that will be the next Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas Club meeting. The meeting is held at 7:30 p.m. in person at the University of Texas at Dallas, and also there's a Zoom component, too. The featured speaker is David Hasener. His topic is going to be the recoding of the Mount Wilson mirror. That should be very interesting. Now, Saturday night public observing sessions continue. Skynet was picked to be on Saturday night so that there could be an opportunity for live reports from the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas public observing sessions. Now, on the third Saturday, that would be tonight of the month, stargazing is held at Cedar Hill. Is there a person, well, do we have a ham at the stargazing that would like to make a report? If so, come now, what's your call sign? I have a feeling, I didn't check, it may have been canceled. I've been outside a few times this evening trying to see if there's a break in the clouds for me to do some imaging, and it's been cloudy mostly, so that probably didn't happen. You can check the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas website at texasastro.org for up-to-date information and details about meetings and public observing stations. This is KF5JHA, back to our net control, WB5OZL. Brenda, it's yours.
Thank you very much, Chaz. Next up, National Space Society events and activities. I call on Bill, N5BB, to give us some information about that. Go ahead, Bill.
Thank you, Brenda. This is N5BB. I am the National Space Society North Texas Chapter Vice President and Membership Director. You can reach me at space@byrom.net. That's SPACE@BYROM.net. The National Space Society is a nonprofit group based in the U.S., which is interested in the exploration and development of space and the creation of a spacefaring civilization. The big event each year for the National Space Society is the International Space Development Conference, ISDC. The next ISDC will be held in Orlando, Florida on June 19th through 22nd of 2025, this year. The North Texas chapter of the National Space Society meets at 3:30 p.m. on the second Sunday afternoon of each month. The meeting location is Spring Creek Barbecue on the southwest corner of Highway 183 and Beltline Road in Irving. Our next meeting will be held on Sunday afternoon, March the 9th. Our presentation will be ILC Dover, NASA Spacesuit Manufacturing by the PBS Fit to Stitch series host, Peggy Sakers. Our meetings are also available virtually using WebEx. Contact N5BB if you'd like to attend online. This is N5BB. This is Skynet. On the last Friday evening of each month at 6 to 8 p.m., the National Space Society North Texas chapter sponsors a social event called Space Rendezvous. The location is Cheddar's Restaurant, 700 West Highway 635, Irving 75063. Anyone is welcome to attend and discuss human activities in space with us. No membership of any group is required. The next Space Rendezvous will be held on Friday evening, February 28th. The NSS North Texas chapter sponsored special award scholarships at the Dallas Regional Science and Engineering Fair in Fair Park, Dallas, today, February 15th. I was one of the judges at this event for space-related student projects, and there were some really smart students there doing both middle school and high school projects about space. Our local National Space Society chapter website is ntx.nss.org. Our group also has an active Facebook page. Just type National Space Society of North Texas into the search box. If you have any questions about the National Space Society, please contact Bill, N5BB, at the QRZ listed email address, space@byram.net. That's all I got. Thank you, Brenda, N5BB.
Thank you, Bill. Do we have any check-ins now? Please come with your call sign and location. All right, our next segment is brought to you by me. This is recent astronomical discoveries, and this is an article in ScienceDaily.com entitled Euclid Discovers a Stunning Einstein Ring. Euclid is the European Space Agency's dark universe detective. Euclid blasted off on its 6-year mission to explore the dark universe on July 1st, 2023. Before the spacecraft could begin its survey, the team of scientists and engineers on Earth had to make sure everything was working properly. During this early testing phase, in September 2023, Euclid sent home some images back to Earth. They were deliberately out of focus, but in one fuzzy image, Euclid archive scientist Bruno Altieri saw a hint of a very special phenomenon and decided to take a closer look. I look at the data from Euclid as it comes in, explains Bruno. Even from that first observation, I could see it. But after Euclid made more observations of the area, we could see a perfect Einstein ring. For me, with a lifelong interest in gravitational lensing, that was amazing. The Einstein ring, an extremely rare phenomenon, turned out to be hiding in plain sight in a galaxy not far away. The galaxy, called NGC 6505, is around 590 million light-years from Earth, as stone's throw away in cosmic terms. But this is the first time that the ring of light surrounding its center is detected, thanks to Euclid's high-resolution instruments. The ring around the foreground galaxy is made up of light from a farther out bright galaxy. This background galaxy is 4.42 billion light-years away, and its light has been distorted by gravity on its way to us. The faraway galaxy hasn't been observed before and doesn't yet have a name. An Einstein ring is an example of strong gravitational lensing, explains Connor O'Riordan of the Max Planck Institute for Astrophysics in Germany and lead author of the first scientific paper analyzing the ring. All strong lenses are special because they're so rare, and they're incredibly useful scientifically. This one is particularly special because it's so close to Earth, and the alignment makes it very beautiful. Albert Einstein's general theory of relativity predicts that light will bend around objects in space so that they focus the light like a giant lens. This gravitational lensing effect is bigger for more massive objects, galaxies and clusters of galaxies. Stand by while I reset. Studying the gravitational effects can help us learn about the expansion of the universe, detect the effects of invisible dark matter and dark energy, and investigate the background source whose light is bent by dark matter in between us and the source. I find it very intriguing that this ring was observed within a well-known galaxy, which was first discovered in 1884, says Valeria Petrino, a USA Euclid Project scientist. The galaxy has been known to astronomers for a very long time, and yet this ring was never observed before. This demonstrates what we knew well. This discovery is very encouraging for the future of the Euclid mission and demonstrates its fantastic capabilities. By exploring how the universe has expanded and formed over its cosmic history, Euclid will reveal more about the role of gravity and the nature of dark energy and dark matter. The Space Telescope will map more than a third of the sky, observing billions of galaxies out to 10 billion light years. It is expected to find around 100,000 strong lenses, but to find one that's so spectacular and so close to home is astonishing. Until now, less than 1,000 strong lenses were known. Even fewer were imaged in high resolution. Euclid is going to revolutionize the field, and all this data we've never had before, adds Connor. Although this Einstein ring is stunning, Euclid's main job is searching for the more subtle effects of weak gravitational lensing, where background galaxies appear only mildly stretched or displaced. To detect this effect, scientists will need to analyze billions of galaxies. Euclid began its detailed survey of the sky on February 14th, 2024, and is gradually creating the most extensive 3D map of the universe yet. Such an amazing find so early in its mission means Euclid is on course to uncover many, many more hidden secrets. Okay. Well, let's see if we have any more check-ins now. All right, now we go to the discussion topic of the evening. Give me just a second. This article is about Dragonfly. This is a Titan space probe. We're going to Titan. Dragonfly is a planned NASA mission to send a robotic rotorcraft to the surface of Titan, the largest moon of Saturn. It is planned to be launched in July 2028 and arrive in 2034. It would be the first aircraft on Titan. It is intended to make the first powered and fully controlled atmospheric flight on any moon, with the intention of studying prebiotic chemistry and extraterrestrial habitability. It would then use its vertical takeoffs and landings, VTOL, capability to move between exploration sites. Titan is unique in having an abundant, complex, and diverse carbon-rich chemistry on a surface dominated by water ice, with an interior water ocean, making it a high-priority target for astrobiology and origin of life studies. The mission was proposed on April 2017 to NASA's New Frontiers program by the Johns Hopkins Applied Physics Laboratory, APL, and was selected as one of 2 finalists out of 12 proposals in December 2017 to further refine the mission's concept. On June 27, 2019, Dragonfly was selected to become the 4th mission in the New Frontiers program. In April 2024, the mission was confirmed and moved to its final development stages. Dragonfly is an astrobiology mission to Titan to assess its microbial habitability and study its prebiotic chemistry in various locations. Dragonfly is designed to perform controlled flights and vertical takeoffs and landings between locations. The mission is to involve flights to multiple different locations on the surface which allows sampling of diverse regions and geological contexts. Titan is a compelling astrobiology target because its surface contains abundant complex carbon-rich chemistry and because both are liquid water, transient, and liquid hydrocarbons can occur on its surface, possibly forming a prebiotic primordial soup. A successful flight of Dragonfly would make it the second rotorcraft to fly on a celestial body other than Earth, following the successes of Ingenuity, a technology demonstration unmanned aerial vehicle, UAV helicopter, that landed on Mars with the Perseverance rover on 18 February 2021 as part of the Mars 2020 mission. Stand by while I reset. And first achieved powered flight on 19 April 2021. The initial Dragonfly conception took place over a dinner conversation between scientist Jason Barnes of the Department of Physics, University of Idaho, and Ralph Lorenz at Johns Hopkins University, APL. And it took 15 months to make it a detailed mission proposal. The Dragonfly mission builds on several earlier studies of Titan mobile aerial exploration, including the 2007 Titan Explorer flagship study, which advocated a Montgolfier balloon for regional exploration, and Aviator, an airplane concept considered for the Discovery program. The concept of a rotorcraft lander that flew on battery power, recharged during the 8 Earth Day Titan night from a radioisotope power source, was proposed by Lorenz in 2000. More recent discussion has included a 2014 Titan rotorcraft study by Larry Mathias at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory that would have a small rotorcraft deployed from a lander or a balloon. The hot air balloon concepts would have used the heat from a radioisotope thermoelectric generator, otherwise known as an RTG. Dragonfly is to use its multi-rotor vehicle to transport its instrument suite to multiple locations to make measurements of surface composition, atmospheric compositions, and geologic processes. Dragonfly and Caesar Comet Sample Return Mission to 67P Churyumov-Gerasimenko were the two finalists for the New Frontiers Program Mission 4, and on 27 June 2019, NASA selected Dragonfly for development with a plan to launch in June 2027. On March 3, 2023, Dragonfly passed its preliminary design review. In November 2023, following NASA's decision to postpone the formal confirmation of the mission due to funding uncertainties, the launch was delayed by 1 year with a new launch date set for July 2028. On 25 November 2024, NASA announced the Launch Service Award for the Dragonfly mission. Dragonfly will launch on a SpaceX Falcon Heavy with a targeted launch period from 5 July 28 to 25 July 28. Titan is similar to the very early Earth and can provide clues to how life may have arisen on Earth. In 2005, the ESA's Huygens lander acquired some atmospheric and surface measurements on Titan, detecting tholins. Stand by while I reset. Which are a mix of various types of hydrocarbons, organic compounds, in the atmosphere and on the surface. Because Titan's atmosphere obscures the surface at many wavelengths, the specific compositions of solid hydrocarbon materials on Titan's surface remain essentially unknown. Measuring the compositions of materials in different geologic settings is intended to reveal how far prebiotic chemistry has progressed in environments that provide the known key ingredients for life, such as pyrimidines, bases used to encode information in DNA, and amino acids, the building blocks of proteins. Areas of particular interest are sites where extraterrestrial liquid water in impact melts or potential cryovolcanic flows may have interacted with the abundant organic compounds. Dragonfly would provide the capability to explore diverse locations to characterize the habitability of Titan's environment, investigate how far prebiotic chemistry has progressed, and search for biosignatures indicative of life based on water as solvent and even hypothetical types of biochemistry. The atmosphere contains plentiful nitrogen and methane with strong evidence indicates that liquid methane exists on the surface. Evidence also indicates the presence of liquid water and ammonia under the surface, which may be delivered to the surface by cryovolcanic activity. Dragonfly is expected to launch in 2028 on Falcon Heavy and to take 6 years to reach Titan, arriving by 2034. The spacecraft will perform a gravity assist flyby of Earth to gain additional velocity on its way to Titan. The spacecraft would be the first dedicated outer solar system mission to not visit Jupiter, as it will not be within the flight path. And I think I'm going to stop there. This article goes on further. You can read it if you want in the text. I think we're starting to kind of run a little bit behind. Okay, any more check-ins? Please come now. Very well. Next up, Chaz, KF5JHA, will present What's Up. Go ahead, Chaz.
Thank you, Brenda. Good evening, everyone, once again. Slide Master, slide number 2. This is Chaz, KF5JHA. We call this segment of Skynet What's Up because it's all about what has gone on astronomically over the past couple of weeks and what's going to go on over the next couple of weeks and a bit beyond, too. Slide Master, slide number 3. We've talked about the predicted nova of the star T Corona Borealis, which may erupt at any time. It is currently at a brightness of around 10th magnitude, which is much too faint to be seen with just your 2 eyes. But when it does go nova, T Corona Borealis could become as bright as the North Star, which is 2nd magnitude. I can see the North Star with just my eyes from my very light-polluted location here in Mesquite. Slide Master, slide number 4. This image that you're seeing, if you're on the video version of Skynet, was taken on Thursday, February the 12th from spaceweather.com. I believe that might be the Solar Dynamic Observatory. I don't remember. The large sunspot complexes on the sun are so large that you can use solar eclipse glasses to see them. Now, the sun is near its 11-year solar maximum. We've talked about the solar cycle about 2 months ago on Skynet. Now, when's the maximum going to occur? It might be occurring now. We're not quite sure until after it's passed when it was. Slide Master, slide number 5, please. Okay, full moon was a few days ago on February the 12th, so the current phase of the moon is a waning gibbous. On February the 17th, the moon will be at apogee, which is the point in the moon's orbit that is furthest from the Earth, at a distance of 404,882 kilometers. Third quarter moon is on February the 20th. New moon is on February the 27th. On March the 1st, the moon is at perigee, which is the point in the moon's orbit that is closest to the Earth at a distance of 361,964 kilometers. The first quarter phase of the moon is on March the 6th. Slide Master, slide number 6. On February 17th, you could observe the conjunction of the moon and the bright star Spica in the early morning sky. Slide Master, slide number 7. On February the 21st, there's a conjunction of the moon and the bright star Antares in the morning sky. Slide Master, slide number 8. Then on February the 24th, in the evening twilight, you could observe the conjunction of Saturn and Mercury low in the western evening sky. Slide Master, slide number 9. On February the 28th, in the evening sky, is strong twilight. The moon and Saturn and Mercury are in conjunction in the western sky. The moon is actually in between Saturn and Mercury on February 28th. And on the next day, slide Master, slide number 10, on March the 1st, in the evening sky in strong twilight, the moon and Venus and Mercury and Neptune are all in conjunction in the western sky. You'll need a telescope in order to observe the planet Neptune. And this is KF5JJ, and this is Skynet. Slide Master, slide number 11. Now, do any of you out there in Radioland have any questions or need a fill on any of the information? Or maybe you just have a general astronomy question. Please come now with your call sign if you have a question or need a fill. It's quiet in Radioland. Slide Master, slide number 12. So as the moon wanes, these words of this segment of Skynet. Stay safe, keep well, pray for our world. It's the only one where humans live right now. And until next time, actually I'll be doing another segment on Skynet in a few minutes. Keep looking up so you know what's up. And this is KF5JJ, sending it back to our net control, Brenda.
Thank you, Jazz. Next up, space exploration and space history, and I'll be presenting tonight. In news, Sunita Williams and Butch Wilmore, their return date has been confirmed by NASA. In a recent development, NASA announced on February 11th that it is working to expedite the return of Williams and Wilmore, initially scheduled for a return in late March. The astronauts' homecoming is now tentatively set for March 12th, pending mission readiness and other operational checks. Instead of using the SpaceX Crew Dragon capsule, NASA has decided to transport the astronaut via the Crew 10 mission. This change in the return schedule offers a potential early end to the extended mission, pending favorable conditions and the successful completion of the necessary flight readiness certification. Next, Saturn's rings are disappearing. Well, not really, but you know that. They're just, we're going to be seeing them on edge, and they'll just look like they're disappearing. Saturn has long captivated astronomers and stargazers with its stunning system of rings. These majestic bands of ice and rock encircling the gas giant have been one of the most iconic features in our solar system. Galileo called them ears. However, a rare celestial event in 2025 will temporarily cause Saturn rings to seemingly vanish from view. This phenomenon, known as a ring plane crossing, is a result of the planet's tilt and orbital mechanics. Saturn's rings will appear to vanish on March 23, 2025, due to a ring plane crossing, a rare astronomical event that occurs approximately every 15 years. During this alignment, the rings turn edge-on as seen from Earth. Because they are incredibly thin compared with their vast width, they become nearly invisible when viewed from the side. This fleeting disappearance is not a sign that Saturn's rings are permanently vanishing, but rather a temporary shift in perspective due to celestial geometry. The tilt of Saturn's rings changes as the planet moves along its orbit. Over time, the rings appear at different angles when viewed from Earth. At their most open, the rings can be seen in their full splendor, but as they slowly tilt edge on, the visibility diminishes. This gradual shift leads to the March 2025 alignment, where the rings will appear as a thin line, barely detectable even through telescopes. Space-related birthdays. February 9th, 1960. Now stand by while I reset. February 9th, 1960, Peggy Whitson. She flew on STS-111, STS-113, Expedition 5, Expedition 16, Expeditions 50, 51, 52, and Axiom Mission 2. February 10th, 1968, Garrett Reisman flew on STS-123, 124, Expedition 16, 17, and STS-132. February 11th, 1960, Richard Mastracchio, STS-106, 118, 131, and Expedition 3839. Well, that's a short week for birthdays. History. In 1997, on February 11th, STS-82 launches for Hubble Space Servicing Mission. STS-82 was the 22nd flight of the Space Shuttle Discovery and the 82nd mission of the Space Shuttle program. It was NASA's second mission to service the Hubble Space Telescope, during which Discovery's crew repaired and upgraded the telescope's scientific instruments, increasing its research capabilities. Discovery launched from Kennedy Space Center, Florida, on February 11, 1997, returning to Earth on 21 February 1997 at Kennedy Space Center. And in 2000, STRM spacecraft launched from Space Shuttle. This is STS-99. STS-99 was a Space Shuttle mission using Endeavour, launched on 11 February 2000 from Kennedy Space Center, Florida. The primary objective of the mission was the Shuttle Radar Topography Mission, STRM, project. This was also the last solo flight of Endeavour. All future flights for Endeavour became devoted to the International Space Station. STS-99 was also the first shuttle mission of the 2000s. February 12, 1961, Venera 1 becomes first spacecraft to fly by Venus. Venera 1 is EA number 2, and occasionally in the West as Sputnik 8, was the first spacecraft to fly past Venus as part of the Soviet Union's Venera program. Launched in February 1961, it flew past Venus on 19 May of the same year. However, radio contact with the probe was lost before the flyby, resulting in it returning no data. Venera 1 was the first spacecraft to fly by Venus. This 64-24-kilogram assembly was launched first into a 229 by 282. Stand by while I reset. Kilogram parking orbit, then boosted toward Venus by the restartable Molniya upper stage. On February 19th, 7 days after launch, at a distance of about 2 million kilometers from Earth, contact with the spacecraft was lost. On May 19th and 20th, 1961, Venera 1 passed within 100,000 kilometers of Venus and entered a heliocentric orbit. This failure resulted in only the following objectives being met: checking the methods of setting space objects on an interplanetary course, checking of extra long-range communications with and control of the space station, more accurate calculation of the dimension of the solar system, a number of physical investigations in space. In 2001, NEAR, it's N-E-A-R, lands on the asteroid Eros. The spacecraft obtained 69 high-resolution images before touchdown, the final image showing an area 6 meters across. NEAR apparently came to rest with the camera and gamma-ray spectrometer pointing towards the ground and the solar panels and low-gain antenna pointing generally towards the Earth and Sun. NEAR was not designed as a lander but survived a low-velocity, low-gravity impact signal continuing after the landing, using the omnidirectional low-gain antenna as a beacon. February 14, 1972, Luna 20 soft lands on the Moon. Soft landed on the Moon, returned soil samples to Earth. Landed on the Moon 21 February 1972 at 1900 GMT, latitude 3.57 north, longitude 56.50 east, Mare Fecunditatis. Luna 20 was placed in an immediate Earth parking orbit, and from this orbit was sent towards the Moon. It entered lunar orbit on February 18, 1972. On February 21, 1972, Luna 20 soft-landed on the Moon in a mountainous area known as Apollonius Highlands, 120 kilometers from where Luna 18 had crashed. While on the lunar surface, the panoramic television system was operated. Lunar samples were obtained by means of an extendable drilling apparatus. The ascent stage of Luna 20 was launched from the lunar surface on February 22, 1972, carrying 30 grams of collected lunar samples in a sealed capsule. It landed in the Soviet Union on 25 February 1972. Lunar samples were recovered the following day. Stand by. February 15, 2005, Cassini flyby of Titan. The third close flyby of Titan occurred on Tuesday, February 15, 2005 at 6:58 UTC. At closest approach, Cassini passed within 1.6 Titan radii at an altitude of 1577 kilometers above the surface and at a speed of 6.1 kilometers per second. The spacecraft obtained a photo via its radar system pointing towards Titan at an altitude of 1,577 kilometers, 890 miles, during the closest approach. I want to thank Tom, KE5ICX, for compiling the birthdays in history for us tonight. Thank you so much, Tom. Next up, let's check for more check-ins. Please come now. Okay, next up, Chaz, KF5JHA, will present Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week. Go ahead, Chaz.
You know, it sounds like it's the Brenda and Chaz show tonight. Thank you, Brenda. Slide Master, slide number 14. Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week is named in honor of Silent Key Carolyn, KC50ZT. Carolyn contributed to Skynet each week, almost from its beginning in 2012 until May of 2019, with a detailed look at one particular constellation each week. Now, since there are about 52 easily visible constellations seen in Texas throughout the year out of the 88 total number of constellations, so Miss Carolyn covered the entire sky as seen over North Texas in a year. And in her honor, we've continued that tradition of a constellation per week and named this segment after her. Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week this week is Canis major, the big dog, easy to find in the evening sky. Canis major's name means the greater dog in Latin. Canis major represents the bigger dog following Orion the hunter in Greek mythology. The dog is often depicted pursuing a hare, represented by the constellation of Lepus. We've talked about that constellation here recently. Slide Master, slide number 15, the joke of the week. Now, you're welcome to boo or hiss. I might not be able to hear that. You're welcome to clap or cheer. Again, I might not be able to hear that. But if you have Echo Link up, you can sit there and type things in the comments area, and especially let me know if you like them or don't like them. The jokes are usually associated with the constellation we're talking about. So here we go. What does my dog and a phone have in common? Caller ID. Oh, you get it, don't you? What do you get when you cross a dog and a calculator? A friend you can count on. What do you call a cold canine? Well, that's a chili dog, of course. What happened to the dog that swallowed a firefly? Well, it barked with delight. What happened to the dog that ate nothing but garlic? Oh, his bark was worse than his bite. And finally, the last joke in the series. Yes, I hear the cheers and the applause for this one, yeah. A three-legged dog walks into a bar and says, I'm looking for the guy who shot my paw. Slide Master, slide number 16, please. Alpha Canis majoris. Sirius is another name for it. The name Sirius means the sparkling one, or more frequently, the scorching one. Compare the name Sirius with the English verb to sear, or to burn, or to scorch. They both originate from the ancient Greek Syros, which means scorching. Sirius is also known as the dog star because of its prominence in Canis Major, Orion's great hunting dog. In ancient times, as it does today, Sirius rose with the sun near the start of summer in the northern hemisphere. And the ancient people believed that the hot days of summer was caused by Sirius's heat in addition to that of our sun. And if Sirius's position as the dog star, that gave rise to the phrase, the dog days of summer. Wow, that makes sense now. At magnitude minus 1.47, Sirius is the brightest star in the nighttime sky as viewed from the Earth. At 8.7 light years away, is among the closest stars to that of our sun and us. This contributes greatly to its preeminence as the brightest star in the nighttime sky because Sirius is intrinsically brighter and is larger than our sun. It is still a main sequence star and not a giant or supergiant. Compared to Sirius compare Sirius to Canopus, the second brightest star in the sky. Canopus shines at a magnitude 0.72 magnitude seen from the Earth, yet it is about 300 light years away, so it's intrinsically brighter, Canopus is. Sirius is a white star with a white dwarf companion. Sirius B, the companion, is also called the pup. Sirius B is notoriously difficult to observe because of its magnitude 8.3 is often lost on the overwhelming glare from Sirius itself. Sirius A and B are currently 9 arcseconds apart, heading toward a maximum. Let me see, hold on, I had to change the page. Maximum, hold on, I'll be back in a minute. Separation of 11.5 arcseconds this year. Attempting to split the double is a good test of your optics and the seeing conditions. So this year would be a good time, like right now. Well, it might be cloudy outside last time I checked. And this is KF5JJ, and this is Skynet. Other stars in Canis Major. Adahera, derived from the Arabic word meaning virgins, which may originate from the ancient Arabic legend that Canis Major and Canis Minor were not dogs, but instead were two human sisters. It's a double star with a 7.5 magnitude companion, and a telescope. Adahera appears to be a bright white primary, with a much fainter white companion. Companion does not jump out at first, but you can finally see it because it's separated enough. Alaldra, which means virgin, another apparent reference to the Arabic two sisters legend about Canis Major and Canis Minor. It's a variable star varying from 2.38 to 2.48 magnitude. It's not a big variation, but it is variable. It is an alpha Cygni type of variable star, giving the appearance of an apparent irregular variable. It appears to be white in the telescope. There are many nearby stars in the field of view surrounding it, all of varying brightnesses. Slide Master, slide number 17, please. An easy deep sky object to find is M41. It's an open cluster which can be seen with just your two eyes from dark sky sites. And actually in binoculars, M41 is easy to find. And in a telescope, M41 may fill the field of view of your lowest power eyepiece. You can see varying colors of stars. Some look orange, while others are white or blue-white. There are many stars of varying brightness. Some appear to range themselves from short lines or streaks in the cluster. There is one particular bright star at the extreme edge of the cluster. Nice object to find. I've even imaged it from right here in Mesquite with my sea star. Yep. Slide Master, slide number 18. Another object to see is NGC, which stands for New General Catalog. Object number 2360. It's an open cluster that is easily noticeable as a fuzzy patch in a finder scope. It's a pretty cluster that fits nicely in the field of view of medium-powered eyepiece, even in small telescopes. Unlike M41, which has many different star brightnesses, most stars in NGC 2360 look about the same brightness. The star colors are also all about the same, white or bluish white. The cluster looks pretty at low power, but the field of view surrounding it is much more pleasing sight at higher powers. This is KF5 JHA, and this is Skynet. Slide Master, slide number 20. There are a few more Astronomical League observing program objects in the constellation of Canis Major, the big dog. I've given you just a sampling of some of those objects. The Astronomical League has, at last count, 74 different observing programs. Most of them have about 100 objects. Now, if you observe just 10 different objects in an observing program from the Astronomical League each month, then you can earn an observing certificate and a pen in about a year. Slide Master, slide number 21. That is Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week, Canis Major, the big dog. I want to thank my friends Dave Hutchinson and Dennis Harwell for their research and words on deep sky objects that I use, borrow, and steal for every Skynet. I also at times use the website constellation-guide.com for information as well. Now next week we'll take a look at, it's a twofer, Canis Minor, the little dog, and Monoceros. What the heck is Monoceros? You just have to sign in next week to find out. Of course, you could look it up on Google, I suppose. And this is KF5JHA Chaz saying goodnight in 73. Back to our net control, Brenda. It's back up to you, WB5OZL.
Thank you, Chaz. Next up, we're going to call on KE5ICX, Tom, to talk about space launches for the week. Go ahead.
All right, thank you, Brenda. And I'll go ahead and give, since the next segment's also mine, I'll also give satellite passes. So we have, this comes from Space Flight Now launch schedule at spaceflightnow.com/launch schedule. February 18th, in a couple of days, everybody together, Falcon 9 Starlink 10-12 mission. This will be SLC-40 from Cape Canaveral. The Falcon 9 rocket will launch another batch of D2 mini satellites into low Earth orbit, a little more than 8 minutes after liftoff. The first stage booster will land on a SpaceX drone ship. Just read the instructions, stationed at the Atlantic Ocean. Then we have February 18th, 19th, overnight, Electron launch. Fasten your seatbelts. This is from Launch Complex 1 in Mahia Peninsula in New Zealand. The Rocket Lab Electron rocket will launch the first of the Gen 3 35-centimeter high-resolution Earth observation satellites for Black Sky, which will head into the mid-inclination circular orbit at 470 kilometers. The satellite will launch from Electron, deploying the Rocket Lab's motorized light band. This will be Rocket Lab's ninth launch with Black Sky as the customer and its 60th Electron launch to date. The company has it said if the booster will be recovered following stage separation. On February 26th will be a launch for Falcon 9 with IM-2 on board from Launch Complex 39A at Cape Kennedy. This will be Intuitive Machine's second robotic mission to the moon. On board will be a Nova C-class lander named Athena, or ADDIE for short. It will fly several commercial payloads along with 3 NASA science payloads as part of the agency's Commercial Lunar Payload Services, or CLPS program. NASA also has a Lunar Trailblazer spacecraft launching as a rideshare payload, which will be deployed separately. The Lunar Trailblazer was selected as part of NASA's Small Innovative Missions for Planetary Exploration, or SIMPLE-X, program in 2019. Following stage separation, the Falcon 9 first stage booster will target a landing at landing zone 1 at Cape Canaveral. On February 26th will be a launch of an Ariane 6 CSO-3. This will be from the Kourou in French Guiana at the Europe Spaceport. Ariane 6 rocket, managed by Arianespace, will launch the Composite Spatiale Optique 3, or CSO-3 satellite in its second flight in the Ariane 6 program. This will be an Ariane 6-2 configuration, meaning there will be 2 solid rocket boosters on the vehicle. It will send the CSO-3 satellite into sun-synchronous orbit at an altitude of 497 miles. CSO-3 is a military Earth imaging satellite for the French Defense Procurement Agency, TGA, and is expected to operate for at least 10 years. Next will be a launch of Progress MS-30, or 91P, on a Soyuz 2.1A rocket booster from the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan. This uncrewed Progress cargo ship will launch atop a Russian Soyuz rocket to deliver supplies to the International Space Station. It's expected to dock station at 6:03 p.m. Eastern Time on March 1st. February 27th, 28th will be a Falcon 9 launch of SpaceX and Punch. This will launch from Vandenberg Space Force Base at SLC-4E. This will be 2 co-manifested missions on behalf of NASA. The primary payload is the spectral photometer for the history of the universe, epoch of reionization, and ICES Explorer, or SpaceX Observatory, which is designed to map the entire sky in infrared light. The total mission cost, including the launch, is $488 million. Sharing the Falcon 9 rocket is the polometer to unify the corona and heliosphere, or PUNCH. Boy, they got to come up with some tongue twisters to come up with these titles, which consists of 4 suitcase-sized satellites designed to map a region around the sun where the corona transitions to solar wind. Both missions will launch to a polar orbit and will be deployed at 11 minutes apart. A little less than 8 minutes after launch, Falcon 9 first stage booster will target a touchdown in landing zone 4 back at VSFB. Got 2 more for you. There'll be a Falcon 9 launch transporter 13 from SLC-4E at Vandenberg. It will launch dozens of satellites on the company's 13th small-sat rideshare program to sun-synchronous orbit. Among the satellites are a trio of CubeSats for NASA's Electrojet Zeeman Imaging Explorer, or EASY, mission, Avatar-1, the first microsatellite from Kongsberg Nanoelectronics, N3X Constellation, and the BOTSat-1 satellite from Botswana. Less than 8 minutes after launch, everybody together, the first stage booster will return for touchdown at the landing pad near the launch site. Finally, March 12th, Falcon 9 Crew 10. This will be Launch Complex 39A at Kennedy Space Center. The Falcon 9 rocket launched 3 astronauts and a cosmonaut to the International Space Station. The quartet will fly aboard the Crew Dragon spacecraft named Endurance. Originally, the crew was to fly on C-213 Crew Dragon, yet unnamed, but swapped the vehicle to compensate for the fact that C-213 still needs additional work before it can fly. The mission will carry NASA's astronauts Anne McClain and Nikolai Ayers, along with Japanese Aerospace Exploration Agency JAXA astronaut Takao Omishi and Roscosmos cosmonaut Kirill Peshkov. This will be the second space flight for both McClain and Omishi, and it's the first for both Ayers and Peshkov. Next up are visible satellite passes, and I have several. The International Space Station on February 15th has a good pass. This is minus 2.0 magnitude at 6:33 a.m. Reaches highest point at 18 degrees at 6:36, and it'll fall to the north-northeast at 6:38. Next is February 16th, minus 2.5 magnitude. This will be pretty bright. 5:47 in the morning, it reaches highest point at 5:47, coming out of shadow at 28 degrees, and it'll fall to the north-northeast at 5:50. Then finally, let's see here, February 18th, minus 1.3 magnitude, 5:48 in the morning, reaches highest point at 12 degrees to the north-northwest. At 5:48, it'll fall to the north. Low passes, but still rather bright. Next up is the other space station. That would be the Tiangong Space Station, with 3 tachynauts currently on board. February 16th has a good pass, minus 1.6 magnitude, quite bright for that station. At 19:17 in the evening, reaches highest point at 42 degrees at 19:20. It'll fall to the east-southeast at 19:21. February 17th has a good pass, minus 2.1 magnitude at 18:57. I'm reading the new stuff here. This is at 1900, reached highest point almost directly overhead at 88 degrees, and it'll fall to the north-northwest at 1903. February 20th, we have a good pass, minus 1.3 magnitude at 1837 in the evening. Reaches highest point at 45 degrees at 1840. It'll fall to the northeast at 1843. February 21st has a reasonably good pass, minus 0.2 magnitude at 1916 out of the west-northwest. 1918 is highest point. It'll fall to the north-northeast at 1920. And then February 21st, only 2 more, minus, February 20, let me give you February 24th. That was a minus 0.2 at 1934 in the evening. Reaches highest point at 19 degrees at 1936. It'll fall down north-northeast at 1937.23. All this information is available at heavensabove.com. Just go there, plug in your longitude and latitude, or you can also put in the city that you're currently at, and it'll give you reasonably good Keplers for not only these, but amateur satellites in orbit as well. So there's also a nice 3D map of the International Space Station orientation, where it's currently overhead as well. Lots of new goodies there that are quite fun. So if you've never been there, take a gander. It's heavensabove.com. Back to you, Brenda, KE5ICX.
Thank you, Tom. Let's look here. We don't have any new people and electronic check-ins. Would anybody like to check in over the air now? Please come now. Very good. Let's see. Does anyone need any fills? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Okay, we had 19 check-ins tonight, and that includes NCS. Thanks for all who checked in this evening. We're just right on time tonight. We'll hope you'll join us here next week and every Saturday night at 9 p.m. to discuss astronomy, space, and space exploration. On this net, the sky is never the limit. We're always looking for net control stations for this and all other DARC nets. If you would like to try your hand at this, contact any of the net controls by sending an email to nets@w5sc.org. You can follow topics and discussions about this net and astronomy in general on Facebook and X, as well as our audio and video streams, video archives, and other useful Internet resources by going to w5fc.org at the conclusion of this net. Until next Saturday night, this is WB50ZL, Brenda. I'll be closing out the net at 10:25 p.m. local time, or returning the repeater to normal amateur use. And we'll be back in about 5 minutes. Let's check with Tom about the Afterglow movie. Give us details, please.
Yeah, Brenda, you're right. We'll be back in 5 minutes. So 10:30 on the dot. Got enough time to make some microwave popcorn. We'll see you then. KE5ICX.
Thank you. I'll be there. 72, everybody, and enjoy the evening discovering the universe. This is WB50ZL Clear.
normal state.
I'm completely operational, and all my circuits are functioning perfectly.
Afterglow Movie Net.
Okay, well, guess what time it is? It's time for the Afterglow Movie Net. I'll be your net control. This is Tom, KE5ICX, and this week's movie is called The Hole from 2009. It is a 3D movie. I watched it in 2D. I don't think 3D would have helped it any. It's a dark fantasy horror film directed by Joe Dante, that guy, and starring people you don't know. The film follows Dane and Lucas Thompson, two brothers who moved into their new house with their single mother, Susan. She's dumber than a box of rocks. Dane and Lucas, along with their new neighbor, Julie Campbell, discover a trapdoor in the basement leading to a bottomless pit and accidentally unleash a supernatural force that manifests itself into the fear of a person who looks into the hole. In this case would be anybody watching this movie. So here we go. Let me read the plot to you because if you haven't seen it, it's kind of confusing. Teenager Dane and his little brother Lucas and their mother Susan, who's clueless, moved to Brooklyn, from Brooklyn to the quiet town of Bentonville, Oregon, where Dane and Lucas befriend their teenage neighbor Julie. While exploring their new home, the kids discover a trapdoor that locks in the basement. They open the trapdoor to reveal a hole that appears to be bottomless. Over the next few days, Lucas, who's afraid of clowns, finds a gesture puppet in many locations as if it's following him. Julie sees an injured girl who bleeds from the eyes. Dane sees a shadowy figure of a large man. All three see the injured girl at the boy's home and follow her into the basement where she crawls into the hole. Julie suggests they seek help from the house's previous owner, creepy Carl, played by Bruce Dern, as creepy Bruce Dern. Carl now lives in an abandoned glove factory surrounded by lights and lamps. How appropriate. That's probably his actual home. Where they mentioned the hole, Carl berates them for releasing the evil inside and says that it will kill Dane. Later that night, Carl scribbles in a sketchbook. He screams, "I'm not done yet," in Bruce Stern voice, as the light bulbs around him pop. Dane returns to the factory for the sketchbook, which is his, and does not find Carl. Probably good for that. Julie invites the group to use her pool. While underwater, Dean sees the giant figure of man above. He and Julie follow the trail of muddy footprints, leaving Lucas alone in the pool. After hearing Julie's dog barking, they return to see Lucas drowning. Lucas says that the puppet pulled him under that night. Dean sees a hand-shaped bruise on Lucas's leg identical to the hand, and Carl drew in the sketchbook. While flipping through the sketchbook, he realizes each page is a puzzle piece and starts working on them. He hears whistling and enters the kitchen to find an envelope addressed to him from the New Jersey State Penitentiary. Lucas sees a policeman at the bottom of the stairs. The cop has a picture of the two girls and asks if he's seen one of them, the girl whom Julie encountered. The cop leaves the picture with Lucas and turns to go. The back of his head is missing. Lucas and Dane watch the cop go to the basement and climb into the hole. The girl appears in Julie's room. Julie leaves and meets the boys. She and her best friend Annie were playing on the tracks of an old roller coaster, which resulted in Annie's death. While attempting to help Julie, an officer also fell to his death. Julie decides to return to the amusement park where the accident occurred. Dane follows her, leaving Lucas alone. Julie finds Annie sitting in the spot from which she fell. After Julie convinces Annie that she tried to save her, Annie disappears. Lucas hears Dane calling him in the basement. Confused, he follows the voice to follow the puppet, mimicking Dane. The puppet attacks him, but is destroyed. Dane and Julie return, and Lucas announces that he is no longer afraid of clowns. Yay. Dean theorizes that when one looks into the hole, it creates whatever the person is afraid of. He claims he's not afraid of anything. Julie invites them to stay over for the night. Lucas gathers his things. Dane shows Julie the puzzle. They solve it together and see the boy being grabbed by a giant man. Dane rushes upstairs, but Lucas is gone. Dane reveals that he is afraid of his father, who abused the family and is now in prison. Realizing that the monstrous version of his father has taken Lucas into the hole, Dane jumps in as well. Dane finds Lucas hiding in the closet of a twisted version of their old home. Their father became a giant and starts to break through the door. The shelving appears to be a ladder. Lucas' actual size as Dane confronts his fear. The surroundings begin to crumble and the floor falls away, leaving Dane and his father trapped in an island below the ceiling fan. Dane pulls himself onto the fan with a belt and gives the floor one final blow with a belt buckle, sending the father plummeting into the void. Dane emerges where Julie and Lucas are waiting. They close the hole as Susan comes into the basement. She sees the trap door and opens it, revealing a shallow crawl space as they head upstairs. Lucas asks if Susan is afraid of anything. She replies that she was afraid of the monster under the bed. The trap door blows open again. The end. Now, if you were able to follow along, you're a better person than I. But congratulations if you managed to get through this thing. I am now going to take check-ins from folks who may have seen this film, The Hole, from 2009. Yes, from 2009 by the famed Joe Dante. So, with that, please come with your call sign, your name, and did you see the film? You don't necessarily have to have seen the film. And if you're like me, you were dismayed, and after having seen the film, wondered if you had seen the film. So, you could say you didn't see the film, but did see the film, feeling like you didn't really see the film. But it's up to you. So please come now with your call sign, your name, and did you see The Hole from 2009?
November Tango 5, Tango Mike. Tony in Bird City. I haven't seen it, but I will be listening to see if I should.
This is WB5OZL, Brenda in Dallas. I did see this movie.
November 5, Bravo, Bravo. Bill in Irving. Yeah, I saw it.
This is Whiskey 5, bacon, lettuce, tomato. Bill in Garland. Yes, I saw this.
November, Victor 5, Foxtrot, Virginia in Fort Worth. Yes, I saw this.
Okay, we picked up one more, NV5S, Virginia in Fort Worth. Yes, she saw the film. I have a feeling because there was Skywarn today that a few people have retired early tonight, so it may be a small group, but I will take additional check-ins in a little bit. Boy, this may be a quickie. We'll find out. Let me try one more time, see if I can eke out anybody else. If you'd like to join us this evening, you don't necessarily have to have seen the whole. If you're a fan or not a fan of Joe Dante's work, you might want to check in and tell us what you think he does that's good. Up to you. Anyone else would like to check in, please come now.
Kilo Bravo 9, Sierra Oscar Kilo, Sean in Fort Worth. Yes, I have seen this movie.
Okay, we picked up one more, KB9SOK, Sean over in Fort Worth. Yes, he saw the film. I guess that's a quorum, including myself. Yeah, I saw the film, I guess. I'm not so sure. Now that I know that it's in 3D, it makes perfect sense to me. Okay, we'll start at the top of the list. Brenda, you get the rare poised for takeoff first on the runway. WB5OZL, you get first dibs at the plot. What do you think about the plot for our film, The Hole, from 2009?
This is WB5OZL. Well, the plot wasn't terribly hard to follow. It just didn't make any sense a lot of times, is the only thing. I didn't have any trouble following what was going on. It's just like, that's stupid. I get the feeling this was made for a younger audience than us, perhaps, a little more simple-minded. The basic premise was just really, really simple. A family moves for a new start, and kids find a hole in the basement, and there's bad things coming out of it, and there's just, cat and mouse all night. These things chasing them. That got kind of tedious. The puppets chasing them up the stairs or slamming the doors. It was just too much of that theme, I thought. But, and then in the end, it's like, oh, it was all a dream. That's how we explain it away. It's like, it's just your imagination. It didn't really happen. So that's how we explain it. Okay, back to net. This is WB5OZL.
Oh my, this may go really fast. Okay, next up is Bill, N5BB. Bill, what'd you think about The Hole from KE5I6?
Hello, Tom. This is N5BB. Well, I think that I have a hole in my life, and the time that I watched this movie was removed, and I'll never get it back. This is your typical basic teenage horror film where what you finally found out, of course, is everybody's worst fears is what gets materialized into these evil creatures. And none of it made any sense. It's a hole. Why is it there? Who put it there? Oh. Even though these supernatural creatures seem to be able to go through walls and materialize anywhere, why do they come out only when it's unlocked? How can he fall into the hole and not die? No knowledge of it. Crazy, whatever his name is, the Bruce Dern character. What's going on with him? How in the world could he afford any kind of house? Why was he living in a glove factory with all those lights? He didn't own the glove factory. He worked there. Why was he there? None of this made any sense. 0 sense. Why did she climb the trestle in the middle of the night? Why didn't they tell their mom? Why didn't they just get out of there? Why did they keep going back? Why did they keep tempting fate? Like all these similar teenage horror movies, the teenage kids do the wrong thing every single time. Anyway, enough said. Inside DB.
All right, thank you, Bill. I was expecting a longer rant from you, but there's such a thin plot here, your rant really can't go all that long, even on the best of days with this film. Okay, Virginia, NB5F, take her away.
Hey, Tom, I think you missed the other Bill, BLT. He was actually before me.
Oh, okay. I never heard him in there. Okay, let me just sneak him into my list here. That's going to be W5BLT. I never heard him. So, Bill, you're next. What did you think about the plot for our fine film? Oh, from 2009.
I had to switch over to the mobile unit from my handheld, so that may be why you didn't hear me. I'm perfectly willing to let everybody else go. I don't have a whole lot to say about this thing. I thought at first I was going to like it, and I think the last half hour pretty much decided it for me. My biggest fear would be rats. So if this hole was in my basement, there would be like rats coming out of it. But and my other biggest fear is having to watch this movie a second time. It started out like it was going to be very promising, and then I kept thinking it was like a Stephen King clown thing, like they stole that. And I don't fear clowns, but they annoy me. Although when I was a little kid and they got balloon animals, I like those. But this was pretty thin on plot. I couldn't figure out too why they knew this bad stuff was going to come out of this hole for them, and they're not like swimming. Just like, well, let's just enjoy life for a while. I don't know. It's just so weird. And the girl's telling him to relax and just enjoy, the day out, and he's thinking about how he's got to defeat what's coming out of the basement. It was just a weird movie. There wasn't really a good background story. Of course, later on you find out that the father was abusing the kids, and the oldest kid, and I forget his name now. I'm not going to say any of their characterization. I don't think it's now. I can't remember all the people's names. But the crazy Carl, that was the guy that worked in the glove factory. I've never seen anything like this. I'm not sure I want to see anything like it again. W5BLT.
All right, thank you, Bill. And yes, spin plots mean spin analysis that goes along with it. We just throw our hands up in the air and go, huh? So with that, we go to Virginia, NV5F. Tell us as much as you can about this film so that we can redeem it, or not, from KE5ICX.
Okay, Tom, redeem it a little bit. It's almost like it tried to do what Stranger Things eventually did way better. And when I was watching it, there were some elements that it almost seemed like might have inspired that show. Though there's a lot of parallel ideas in entertainment, so you never can tell. But I think they were trying to go for kind of that mid-'80s, teenage, but with a little bit of whimsy, a little bit of horror, a little spooky, but whimsical. But there was the plot kind of meandered. They took a really smaller idea and kind of stretched it out. It might have been, like you often say, it might have been a good Twilight Zone episode, maybe. But yeah, there was a point where everybody was discovering their fears, where they kind of lost. It seemed to lose track at times of whose story it really was, who is the main character of this story. And I believe it's Dane, the older brother. But there was so much focus on his younger brother and the girl, and it was kind of a decent premise that kind of wandered around, and sometimes there was just no sense of urgency. They're just like, oh yeah, there's this big scary hellhole in our basement, but we're just gonna like hang out and play video games until mom gets home from work or whatever. So I got what it was about. It made sense to me, but it was, it does kind of blur the line between what's actually happening and what's not, what's just your imagination, and it never really, I guess it kind of clears that up. But the one big plot hole, or the one big unfinished thing is, what happened to Crazy Carl? I guess Crazy Carl was afraid of the dark, because he lived in this factory. He fled the house where he had once lived, and he lived in this factory surrounded by lights, and then they all started bursting in the dark. He kept saying, it's going to be dark and it's going to get us, and so I guess he was afraid of the dark. But I would have liked to have seen some resolution with him. Him defeating his fear. So yeah, it was just kind of muddled, and the plot wasn't, the plot just wasn't very, the action kept going, and, it was, I guess, interesting enough to keep us kind of quiet on the thread last night. There wasn't a whole lot of commenting about how crappy it was, or how terrible, the special effects were, or anything like that. It was just kind of like all pretty good production values and everything, but the plot just, it just kind of wandered a little bit. It had a lot of tropey stuff in it. I always make comments about what movies it feels like it's ripping off, almost directly at times, like the clown doll is from Poltergeist, and, Tom kept mentioning Steven Spielberg, because it had that, it had that Spielbergish, what did I say? I said it was like The Goonies meets Poltergeist, meets, something else, I don't know, more horror, but anyway. So yeah, it was okay. It was easy to understand. The plot was very straightforward. It wasn't too different than other things where people have to face fears in this similar kind of allegorical way in movies. So that wasn't very new, but I don't think I've ever seen anything quite like it as far as the plot device being a bottomless pit in the basement. I'm sure there have been similar things, but yeah, it was okay. It kept my attention, and I wanted to find out what happened and solve the mystery of the hole and why it seems bottomless and and how you defeat it. And so there was definitely some follow through. Backstory about the kids and their dad, and but there was kind of an inconsistent sense of urgency, and then there were scenes that were kind of, it did good with creepy, spooky, so it was okay. I'll give it a fair, but not terrible. It wasn't terrible. It just wasn't great in V5F.
All right, thank you, Virginia. I got some notes off of that, too, and I agree with you on a lot of points. I'll bring that up when it's my turn. Sean, KB9SOK, what did you think about the plot for our film The Hole from 2009?
Yeah, this is KB9SOK. This movie was about as entertaining as looking at a real hole in your backyard. As everybody there says, this thing was full of tropes. How many times have we seen scary movies about, facing your fears, and there's even been Star Trek episodes with that, and, it's been so overdone, and their particular plot device, those holes being, I guess, the one change, really didn't add a whole lot to it. In the end, we never did truly find out. They gave us somewhat this weird explanation, or the crazy guy did, that it was been there since the beginning of time or whatever. But it was just a very simple plot. But the thing, I think Virginia hit it on the head, that there was no urgency, and that's why I felt last night while I was watching it. It was just, at times it was almost boring, because it's just, there was action, but it's like, the kids weren't really taking it that serious. They're just, out, like I said, just playing, having fun. It was just a kind of a weird pacing at times, and being that it wasn't really too original and pretty easy to predict, it just wasn't really that exciting of a movie. I agree, it wasn't horrible, but it just wasn't that interesting. I don't watch a lot of scary movies anymore. When I was young, I was very much into those kind of things. But more I enjoyed the B movies, the ones that were just ridiculous. And they were fun because they were ridiculous. And this one wasn't that. This one tried to kind of be a serious, scary movie. But it really had no big payoff at the end. I mean, they defeated their fears. But, now if I'm going to watch a suspenseful movie, I want it to be truly suspenseful, and I want it there to be a nice payoff. Something I don't see coming, or, something truly unpredictable. A movie kind of comes to mind as, like The Sixth Sense, where, if you weren't spoiled about it, and didn't know that he was dead all along, then, you had that big, huge plot twist at the very end in it, and it really made the movie. Even though that one, you could say maybe was somewhat slow-paced, but it had a nice payoff. This one just didn't have the payoff. It was just kind of bland. It does seem like whoever wrote this had seen a lot of scary movies and just kind of made their own version of many tropes that they've seen in the past. And it just wasn't really that solid of a script. Almost in all these movies, you always got the older brother, not one to play the younger brother or sister, and then, of course, in the end, they come together because of the scary thing that goes on. This thing just has so many of those kind of tropes. Of course, we're not going to tell the parents. We're going to hide it. Of course, we're going to go find the crazy guy that we know is crazy and ask him for advice. There's just not a lot of surprises in this movie. The only thing I will say, it was pleasant that it wasn't just a slasher. You know, for a while there in the 90s and 2000s, it seems like all the scary movies were just trying to gross you out, and I don't care for those at all, because those usually don't have any kind of plot either. So at least this one kept that part down. So I do agree with the comment about being kind of aimed, I think, for a very young audience, because it didn't have a lot of that. And I'm good with that. That's one positive I will give this movie. But overall, it was just nothing special, just kind of boring, and nothing really I'd want to see again. So anyway, back to net, KB9SOK.
Net control for tonight's Astro Movie Net poll from 2009. Does anyone else want to check in before we continue? Please come to your call. Your name. Did you see the film? You don't have to have seen it. In fact, you might even benefit from not having seen it. But if you just want to say you're out there, please come out.
Recheck and 5BB.
Hey, Bill, go ahead.
Yeah, Tom, I don't know what method you're using to get to the 88 repeater in Dallas tonight, but you got a really pretty bad hum on your signal. It's a hum, continuous hum that's always there. Just wanted to let you know in 5BB.
All right, thank you, Bill. I've been trying to excise this thing. I am not entirely sure where it's coming from. I've done battery power. I've done all sorts of things, and it's still here. So I may have to put some sort of a shunt or something on it. I do have to say, you know, I'm in a high-rise now, and the elevator is on the other side of this wall. So I'm thinking that might have something to do with it. I'm not sure. Maybe I should get on TechNet and ask for some advice on that. But I have tried everything. Some nights it's worse than others, but I've tried all different combinations. I do notice it tonight. I'm using the All-Star Link. I could use Echolink, which is does not have the hum. I may consider that. I don't know. But thanks. I appreciate it. Not tonight. I will look at it again tomorrow. My days are filled with tinkering and doing retired guy stuff, so we'll see. Okay, let me go ahead and make my comments then, since no one else checked in. All right, one of the things, first off, I did not know until I was reading the synopses is this is a 3D movie. And I don't know what it is about people that when they decide, and 3D comes back to every once in a while, it's about every 15 years or so 3D comes back, and I guess 2009 was one of those years. It was really important that we had 3D stuff. So the last sequence, they created the 3D sequence, and I'm beginning to believe the whole movie revolves around the 3D sequence, and that's it, and they built the plot to make that happen. That's my guess after just reading the thing. So I don't know. There's no exposition on this film explaining why this thing exists. This is mentioned by others, and it just drives me nuts. You got Bruce Dern, Crazy Carl. He's the guy that can tell your story. Bruce Dern is nuts anyway, so he plays his character just perfectly fine. He could explain it ghost story style as to the meaning of the thing, and it's not there. The movie is only 90 minutes long. You can spend 5 minutes to scare us with a ghost story to explain why it's there and why it's so dangerous. Why the heck is it there in the first place? Did he live there? Did he move out of the house? He should have said he moved out of the house. My wife died. Paperboy died in the basement. People disappeared. I don't know. Do something. Explain the consequences of the stupid trap door. We don't get that. thing that drives me nuts about the whole thing is nobody seems very concerned about the trapdoor. Oh, well, we have a trapdoor that goes endlessly into the dark. Nobody's as scared of heights. Nobody's worried about falling into the basement. There could have been some scenes where they almost fall in. They could have had the usual trope with the animal falling into the thing, and we never see it again, or we hear it barking or screaming or something. Just to give us an idea of how deep this thing is, or throw the stupid flashlight down and let it disappear into the abyss. I don't know. Do something that makes it scary. There's nothing scary. I don't care. They don't care. Oh, let's go to the pool. We'll go do that. That'll be fun. We'll just go, and then the creatures come up and bother them. Okay, fine. And we also there's a scene where they do have the camera and they go down and somehow or another they manage to miss the most important part of the footage from the video camera they send down, the big eye. What the heck is the big eye? Why is it there? What's the thing? Is it supposed to be scary? Is that the creature that we're supposed to worry about that creates all of these fear things that aren't very fearful? I don't know. I don't care. Nice eye, though. Looked really great. Wouldn't it have been great if it had a pirate patch on the eye and you just lifted it up? Oh, look. I don't know. Dumb. Now, with that, here's a movie that you can watch where the people are displaced and they move in with the widowed mom and the kids, and it's a really good film. It's The Lost Boys from 1987. That one is 97 minutes long. It's a hell of a lot better. It's scary. There's a reason why they're doing what they're doing. They're recruiting the kid to become a vampire. It's scary as all get out. They go climb underneath a bridge with a train going over. It's a good movie. It's a lot of fun, and it's got FDR as a vampire in it. What more could you want? Of scariness. I love that film. I've seen it a zillion times and I enjoy it. And this thing, the hole, boy, that's what I felt like I was climbing out of after watching this thing. So there's an example, not really perfectly the same film, certainly, but it's basically the same story and tropes. The kids, nobody believes them anyway, and they seek out, help along the way. I think it's great. There's comedic elements to it. I think the film wanted to be something like that, but it just fell way short. How this thing got 87% on Rotten Tomatoes is beyond me. These people obviously did not see The Lost Boy. Otherwise, it would have gotten like a 0.87%. Also, at the end, there's no real payoff. Everybody gets to assuage their fears. That's wonderful. So does that mean that the hole, the trapdoor, no longer is important? Or do we wait around until they Crazy Carl rents it out to the next unsuspecting divorced or widowed mom with a couple of kids that nobody cares about? I don't know. Maybe. Who cares? And then, of course, it pops up and it's the endless, endless pit again. Well, that's wonderful. We know that they want to do 10,000 sequels for the thing. They didn't get any. I wonder why. Because there was a bottom to the bottomless pit. Okay, with that, I've done my rant. So we'll start at the top again. We will talk about characterization, such as it is. So we'll begin with Tony, NT5. Is a movie you want to see, Tony, or do you have one that you would rather discuss? This is one of our rare, I guess, horror films. I thought it was going to be kind of sci-fi, but it's more horror than anything. So what do you think from KE5ICX?
Well, Tom, I have to say it does sound kind of pointless. Although I really like The Lost Boys. Awesome, fun music, too. I've got the poster for it hanging here in the house. So yeah, definitely a better movie to see and a lot more fun and great acting and good music. Kind of just a whole bunch of music videos run together, but in a plotful, scary way with lots of violence. I don't think I'm going to watch this. 10P5 PM.
Wise choice, Tony. Okay, next up is Brenda, WB50ZL. Tell us about characterization, my dear, or the acting.
This is WB50ZL. I felt that was pretty standard. The kids are just very typical kids. And, I think that was by design. They just put average kids in there and, they just did what you expect them to do. Of course, in all of these horror movies with young people, they always do something stupid. I hear a noise outside. I think I'll go out there by myself and check it out. And you just want to yell at the screen. It's TV because they're just being so dumb. I mean, these kids had a lot of that. I've never lived with a basement, but that one was creepy just going into it. I don't know that I would ever go down there. And they didn't seem to care. I'm surprised they didn't involve their mom in this. I don't know. Let's see, characterization. So these characters were not terribly complex. They're teenagers. They're kids. So we'll forgive them for that. I thought they did an okay job portraying the people that they were being paid to portray. It's just, they weren't all that interesting. Okay, back to net, WB50ZL.
By BB. Bill, go ahead. What do you think about characterization and acting on our fine film tonight?
Okay, Tom, this is Inside BB. Well, I guess it was kind of okay, not good, but at least we learned a little bit about some of the characters. Although the girl next door, we didn't know much about her. Barely saw her family. And the deal about her mom and the mom that's moving, I didn't exactly follow that. Sounded like every time her ex-husband sent a letter from the prison, they moved. I didn't exactly understand what was going on there. If the prison thought they were, if they thought they were being harassed, why don't they tell the prison, don't send us any letters? I didn't understand that at all. Get a restraining order or something. And I just really did not understand why the kids, with these obvious crazy things happening in front of them, and Tony, if you're still there, I'll give you one little hint, Tony. The spooky little girl, ghost character, whatever it is, imaginary character, only has one shoe. That's right, only one shoe. And she walks with a limp, and blood kind of dribbles out of one eye. I'm sorry. Oh, you don't really know why these things happened. They're trying to scare you. If you really want to get scared, come over here and look at my knee that I had surgery in 2 weeks ago. They've taken the bandage and the staples off. Now, that is scary. You will get scared looking at that. just imagine somebody slicing your body open. That'll scare you. I don't need this movie to get scared. N5ED.
All right, thank you, Bill. And that comment means that you're very needy. Next up is Virginia, NV5F. Virginia. Oh, wait. I forgot Bill, W5NBLT, the other Bill. Bill, your thoughts, characterization, and acting.
Well, I don't want to knee-jerk or anything, Tom, here, but you keep forgetting me. Not sure what that means. Knee jokes all during the net. I've always told you guys that I always love being on the Afterglow net because you fill in all the visual details on this, but I'm thinking I could do without some of this. Seriously. The Dane and his brother, they were typical kids. They had the girl. You didn't really see a lot of interaction. That was kind of interesting. I think what was happening is their dad would track them down somehow from prison and then send them a letter, and then they were afraid that he would get out or get released and find them. You find that out more at the end. All you see at the beginning is the mom telling the kids, I need this job to work. I can't take any chances. And you're thinking, I was thinking at the beginning, well, maybe she's trying to build a career and take care of the kids, and obviously she was trying to do that, but they threw that in about the dad being abusive, which I don't know. I could have done without the ending on this film. I was liking it maybe till about halfway through. But the other thing that's interesting on these characters, you don't see Crazy Carl for very long, and you're just sort of left, okay, there's a crazy guy that has the house. And if it's been there since the beginning of time, why did anybody think it was a good idea to put a house there? I'm still trying to figure all this out. I don't know. The characters, they did okay with what they had. They just didn't have a whole lot. And the film could have been something greater than what it was. And there's just a big hole in the plot. Delete 5BLT. Back to you, Tom.
Oh, thank you, Bill, and I see what you did there. Very good. Next up is Virginia, NV5F. Virginia, what did you think of characterization and acting for a film, The Hole, from 2009, from KE5, ICX?
Thanks, Tom. First, I have to comment on your Chaz joke you made at the end of Bill's comments about his knees. So very nice, well played. I know Chaz doesn't ever stay up late enough for this party, but it was almost like you were channeling him. That was fantastic. Well, let's see. Acting here was pretty good. I mean, all these people were pretty good actors. They filled pretty typical roles pretty well. I did not find their acting to be lacking or annoying. The characters themselves, seemed very consistent, almost to the point of needing more dynamics. Like the main character, which I'm proclaiming to be Dane, who's ultimately he's the one who has to face the fear of his father, who, yes, I believe that's a whole, every time they move somehow, he, I don't know how, from prison, figures out where they live and sends him a letter Maybe he has the internet. I've heard that people in the prisons now get all kinds of things like internet and all that. I don't think they should, but they should get meals and a place to sleep and places to do basic necessities and get exercise, but they shouldn't be able to do research and figure out where their ex-wife and kids live. But that actually brought home a memory for me. My mom in the mid-'80s was married to a guy who turned out to be bad news, and he was a very unstable person, and we moved somewhere else. We sold our house and moved to a neighboring city, and a few months later my mom got an empty envelope from him in the mail, and that was how he let us know that he had figured out where we lived. So those kind of things do happen. Anyway, that's an aside to the main character, his dynamic of kind of, internal struggle about not wanting to be like his dad, that kind of came out at the end. And, I thought that was a decent attempt at a character arc, but there just could have been a more specific character arc plot with him. And then the girlfriend, her character seemed really inconsistent. One minute she's kind of this fun-loving, let's go swimming, or oh wow, you have a trap door to hell in your basement. Wow, that's so cool. It's like one minute she's like super edgy, and then the next minute she's just sort of this typical teenager who just wants to flirt with boys, and I guess that could make sense that she's kind of got this dark thing in her past, and I did like how they brought that out. That was probably the more interesting of the people facing their fears in this, was her. You discover that the little girl was there because of her, because she was her friend, and she had died when they were, I guess, pulling a stunt climbing up an old roller coaster. At first I thought, well, the little girl had died on the roller coaster, but it seems like they were sort of reenacting that incident where they had maybe one night kind of wandered off and decided to climb up and she fell. That's my assumption. Let's see. The younger kid, his fear thing wasn't very. Once it came to light, it wasn't very interesting. I don't know why I was like, oh, he's afraid of clowns. I don't know. I think that could have been, I think it could have been at least made the clown into an analogy for something else, but that kind of ended up being sort of weak. And the mom, yeah, I mean, this kind of had an E.T. vibe about it, single mom, a couple of kids. I think in E.T. there were 3 kids, but anyway, characters were interesting enough. They were kind of tropey, but not. I mean, like I said, this wasn't terrible. It wasn't like or thought the acting was cheesy or anything like that. Just the arcs were not clear cut enough, I guess, and it was just kind of a standard boilerplate sort of character stuff. And once you kind of figured out what the whole was all about, it became sort of predictable. And then, the sense of urgency in the characters' reactions to what was going on kind of waxed and waned, and maybe it was a little too much like it would be in real life. Maybe it was like, oh yeah, that's weird, but we got past the weirdness, and now we're here, and then it gets weird again, and maybe it was not. Maybe it just wasn't as interesting as you want a movie to be, and it was probably a little bit too listless in places. Anyway, not too bad. Like I said, not terrible, but not great either. Just kind of fair. NV5F.
All right, very good. Yeah, I think we got a consensus here. Next up is Sean, KB9SOK. Sean, your thoughts on characterization and acting from KE5ICX.
Yeah, this is KB9SOK. Yeah, Tom, I think you made a good point earlier about the whole 3D thing. Yeah, I usually try not to read stuff about these before we watch them. I guess maybe I should afterwards. So I have that context. That kind of makes sense. Like the movie was built strictly for the 3D thing, because we had a lot of POV views or, first-person views. Obviously with the creatures running at them, and then the very ending sequence with the Alice in Wonderland, everything bigger than normal. Of course, that was because it's supposed to be the perspective of a kid, but still, we had the weird looking shapes, and so it is kind of feel like that is somebody wanted to produce a 3D movie and thought, well, this would be, they kind of worked it in reverse. The characters were pretty much tropes. Like I mentioned earlier, once again we had the two brothers that, the older brother didn't want to spend time with the younger brother, but then of course eventually they become closer. I agree with I do agree with that the youngest kid's story was probably the most boring. And then, it's the whole, they started to do a little bit of development with a story arc with their protagonist, but, it just didn't feel like it went far enough. And then, the girl next door is kind of in between. She did have somewhat of a story arc there, and probably, somewhat of an interesting story, but once again, it just felt lacking overall. These characters. I agree that Carl was probably could have been one of the more interesting characters. Once again, Kay gives a lot of insight into the whole situation. But they just kind of really left him out. He's such a tiny part of it. After it kept talking about it early on in the movie, the guy used to live there, and then didn't play much of a part. Could have been a lot more to it. And then the mom was fine. The momentary boyfriend that came over, he was just thrown in there for a little bit of drama. But overall, I think the actors did fine in this film. I don't have anything against the acting in it. I just don't think there was a lot there to really work with. Just kind of a bland, below average kind of movie, and just one of those, just a filler. Unfortunately, it was just one of those sort of other quick buck ones, I think. Anyway, not a lot more to add. Back to that. KB9SOK.
All right, thank you, Sean. I'll ask if anyone else wants to join us this evening. Has none, so tonight's movie is The Hole from 2009. It's okay if you saw it. You could admit to it. Admitting there's a problem is the first step towards solving a problem. So if you're out there and you'd like to join us, please come with your call sign now. I suspected not. Okay. My comments kind of already covered this a little bit. I think that Bruce Dern was wasted on this film. He can play Crazy Carl because he is Crazy Carl, and he should have been given more of a role with more to do and more of an explanation as to why he's there. Dern did the best he could playing Bruce Dern as Creepy Carl, and he did fine. It's just that there wasn't enough of him for very long. Oh well. If you want to see him in something really fun and funny and kind of weird, is of course we've seen him in Silent Running, but I particularly like him in The Burbs. If you've seen him there, he's quite fun. He also appeared in a number of 12 O'Clock High from the 1960s, the TV series that came out. He was one of the disgruntled crew of B-17. He'd show up every once in a while and say that, want to take over the plane or crash it or something. He was always crazy Carl, even in that. Let's see. Masaglia played Dane, the kid. He's a kid actor. He only played in a few movies, and then he got out of that and grew up, and I guess he's in the city council in Minnesota somewhere at some local thing. And that's what he does these days. He just, I don't know, whatever. But he was pretty good in this. I didn't mind him. Julie was okay, played by Haley Bennett, was all right. But again, as everyone has mentioned, and we say again, there's no consequences. Nobody seems overly upset about anything. So I don't know if they're trying to make this a kids' movie, although it had scenes that were kind of scary, I suppose. Even still, it just lacked any sort of urgency. None of the characters seemed overly concerned about anything. So I was a bit kind of confused by all of that. Dante should know better. He's a guy who was it? He's a student of Roger Corman and made horror films and some schlocky ones, but always there. So he should have been able to do something with it. He did a segment of Twilight Zone, and so he knows. Well, actually, he did Twilight Zone the movie, and he also did a 1985 version of Twilight Zone, which, by the way, I thought was a pretty good series from 1985, the reboot, with a lot of good things in it. He did, I think, one or two of those okay, and I think he did, I don't know, might have done Stranger Things. But at any rate, he knows how to direct. Why he didn't do something with this, I don't know. Maybe the story was just terrible. He's a writer, too. He writes, or maybe he does it on the fly, I don't know. But this definitely needed some help. The actors did what they could with what they had, but I don't think they were involved, and that's a directing problem for not getting the performances out of them that are more realistic. I think the fact that everybody went, oh, well, who cares, was a choice, and why, I have no idea. It's just a guess on my part, or it was just really bad directing on his part. Not sure. Kind of disappointed in him on this one. Everyone else okay. Dick Miller was in the film. I was looking at him. He was the pizza delivery guy. He's 1,000 years old. He's uncredited. But according to Wiki, he was also in a lot of Roger Corman films, so I think he was just in it to be there for as an acknowledgement to Roger Corman's work. That's about it. Other characters done other things since then. Nobody of any consequence or excitement that I can say. So, oh, by the way, Bill, I did manage. I moved the stuff around in here, and this is the computer room. The shack's actually in the other room, but I've got kind of a setup here, and I turned the All-Starlink antenna kind of perpendicular to the antenna that I'm using on the radio that I've got here, and it seems to have eliminated a lot of the noise. I can't hear it right now, but I don't have it turned up super loud either because I got neighbors next to me. But hopefully it's better than what you had before. At any rate, that's it on this round. I will go to third round. We've got time. This one will be special effects, so 3D yourself crazy. Brenda,
Oh, you cut out. I think you're ready for me. Well, I'll go ahead and talk anyway. Yeah, there wasn't much in the way of special effects. Most of it was just jump and say boo. That was their main trick. And or have a really evil-looking clown, and how hard was that? So, yeah, not so much on special effects. Although the last scene when he was fighting with his dad, that was kind of interesting. Everything is in black and white here. People are either really good or really bad. they were not terribly complex characters, and the dad was just basically an evil guy, and which is, I think, a little unusual. But they, you can see why he was scared of him. So, no, I wouldn't watch this again. But it was okay. It was the worst movie we've seen. I'll have to say that. And you can tell that Joe Dante is, has got some skills in making movies. A lot of the movies we see, they look like, just wasn't well thought out and just slapdash together, or, they had a half-boiled idea and just went ahead with it. So you didn't get that sense here that, he was an experienced movie maker. But nonetheless, this is not his best work. And I wouldn't advise it. It was okay, but I would not advise it for anybody else to see it. But it was, I actually rather enjoyed it. Most of it. It moved along at a good pace, and the characters in it were fun enough to watch, so there you go. All right. Back to net, WB5OZL.
Okie, thank you, Brenda. Thanks for your comments tonight. Bill, N5PV. Bill, what do you got?
You had to ask me, Tom. This is N5PV. Your hum is gone. Yay! Good move, Tom. Special effects. Well, as I mentioned earlier, the special effect I thought was most special was the little girl only had one shoe. After a while, that was kind of scary because she was kind of limping along with only one shoe and blood dripping out of her eye. There were the special effects when they were down in the hole, and the structure of reality kept getting chipped away, and finally it just disappeared. Reminded me of a Terry Gilliam movie. It's like the Queen of the Moon appearing with her head on a platter. It was, if you remember that kind of stuff, it's kind of like that, kind of a surreal, abstract, obviously unreal experience there, having not much to do with the rest of the movie. And then I've got to take a point of personal privilege, Tom. You said I was needy. I think that was a knee-jerk reaction. But don't you jerk my knee, or I will throw you down the hole. I'll do that if you jerk my knee right now. It will hurt. And you realize it's night. It's dark outside. It's night. That's right. Listen carefully. And you'll hear the night says knee. That's right. The night say knee. You're spelling it wrong. It's K-N-E-E. Get me a shrubbery. This is N5BB.
Oh no! It feels like a Chaz night. Ugh. Thankfully, he's in bed and asleep. Otherwise, this would embolden him, and he'd be on with Chazisms. Okay. Next up is Bill, W5BLT. Bill, you can talk about special effects such as, or music, or anything you want to rant about. Go ahead, from KE5ICX.
Well, I did get out my 3D glasses, but the visual effects weren't that great, at least for me. When you talk about 3D movies, there was one that was broadcast nationwide on TV, and I was looking for it. And it was called The Creature. It was a sequel to the Black Lagoon, or the Blue Lagoon, right? I think. Creature from the Blue Lagoon. Anyway, you could go to 7-Eleven or Pizza Hut. You get these 3D glasses. My parents, even though I was blind, because my sister, twin sister, had got a pair of 3D glasses, and they all three had them for this big TV event. They got me my very own 3D glasses, which worked about as well as sunglasses for me. But they were kind of uncomfortable. They were cardboard things. But it was still cool. And it was a family movie event. I don't remember much about the movie. It probably wasn't very good. Somebody said it was on YouTube. It was called The Creature. And where am I going with this? Oh, I don't know. We talked about 3D, and it just triggered that memory. I don't really have anything about special effects. I know there was music in it, but it had the typical kind of horror movie music and stuff, and that was great. And I don't typically get into horror movies. I'm much more into the science fiction. After my experience in third or fourth grade, went to a movie theater, drive-in with friends, and Halloween was on, and I had no idea what I was in for there, and I just have never liked these movies after that. But all that aside, within stereo, you could hear everybody talking, so that the audio was very good. Many times I'm complaining because you can't understand the people overall, the sound effects and weird things that they want to do, and that this movie didn't have that. It was very, I actually watched it on Amazon Prime, and I didn't speed it up. Some of these movies, I'll speed up 2 times just to get through them so I can talk about something on the net. And, this one I didn't. And so, in retrospect, while it wasn't great or good, I did find myself not speeding it up just to get through it. So, it does have that for it. And it was very much, it was very well done vocally. And I think maybe that's why I appreciated that and kind of wanted to like it. Anyway, back to you, Tom, W5PLC.
All right, thank you, Bill. Yeah, well, we wanted to because we watched the film on Friday nights, right? Several of us, and we kibitzed back and forth about the film from 8 until whenever the movie ends. And when it gets quiet, where there's not a lot of typing back and forth, we're all watching the film, so it got very quiet, and it seemed like this was going to go really well. And then the second half and the payoff, and it's like, oh, come on, we've seen all this before. So it started out promising and then kind of ended up half-baked. Okay, next up is Virginia, NV5F. Virginia, your final comments from KE5I6.
Okay, well, let's see. The music was unrememberable because I don't remember it, but it had that, the opening, I remember the music had that whimsical, promising, family film kind of feel. But it was fine. Special effects, I don't know, it seems like at sometimes they were intentionally kind of cheesy, especially when the spectral figures made their way back into the hole. It almost looked like they were oozing into it. And but I think all that was intentional. I think it was a kind of pre-Stranger Things thing where they were like trying to evoke like a B horror movie kind of feel. So I think some of the cheesiness or the cheesiness of the clown and the some of that puppetry where he and the kid are fighting. You know, it was so cheesy. But I don't know. I think that's kind of what they were going for. I think they really were trying to get back to like a, you know, the feeling of a movie that maybe was you know, 20 years earlier or something. Not much more to say there except the effects were fine. The cinematography, editing, everything was fine. Like I said, fair movie. Not one I'll ever want to watch again. I just don't really have. I really don't have a whole lot to say about anything good or bad. You know, like everything just kind of was right down the middle on you know, I thought the effects they kind of were going for when they were when Dane and his brother were, you know, down in the hole. You know, they were going for sort of the fun house effect, and it was you know, it was okay. Everything was here, just okay. So I wish I had more interesting, you know, factoids, and I can't find any connection to 2001. So I'm sorry I failed you guys this week on that in D5F.
Okay, well, thank you, Virginia. Thanks for trying. I mean, sometimes, you know, we never know what the heck we're getting into with these films. You know, a lot of times these films, well, Brenda always picks the bad ones. I always pick the good ones. But, you know, we don't preview these things, so we never know exactly how they're going to turn out. So I'd never seen this film before, and we popped it in, watched it last night, and went, okay. So it happens. Next up is Sean, KB9SOK. Sean, what do you have for a parting shot from KE5ICX?
Yeah, this is KB9SOK. Well, this is, I guess the big special effect was supposed to be the 3D. Didn't watch it that way, so I guess, you know, that probably was the big miss there, I guess. Personally, it seems like most movies that do the 3D thing are very gimmicky and focus more on that than the story. I'm sure there are a few exceptions out there. Unfortunately, I'm among the few that the 3D glasses doesn't work for me, so to me it's just a double blurred image. I really don't watch 3D movies. Yeah, the effects, not a lot there, just kind of some real basic, you know, camera tricks there. But I will say, I thought it was fine for what the movie was going for. In a lot of ways, it's better than some of the new stuff that this is strictly really poor CG. There seems to be a trend here recently. Yeah, it seems like about 10, 15 years ago when CG really started to be good, they really put the time and effort into it. And it actually did, some movies actually did look pretty good. It seems like the last 5 years, Hollywood has gotten very lazy with the 3D and gone cheap, and it looks cheesy, and it doesn't even look good. Watched the new movie today that came out on Netflix, and the special effects look horrible. I mean, the 3D, the CG stuff was just horrible. I mean, it took it completely out of the film, and it just really was bad. So I like that they, for the most part, stayed with the practical hero with the puppet, and, you know, at least it looked, you know, kind of old school, and so that part I did appreciate. Yeah, audio, yeah, the production values were fine. Music wasn't anything special. You know, it had a few, didn't have what I would call your really classic, scary movie sounds that happen right before a bad thing happens. You know, I had a little bit of background stuff, but wasn't really that prominent. Maybe not bad, but yeah, this is just a movie, but all in all, we've seen way worse, so. As always, enjoyed listening to the group and watching on Friday night, so looking forward to the next one. KB9SOK.
Whiskey 5 BLT, recheck.
All right, thank you, Sean. And Bill, W5DLT, go ahead.
I want to attempt to redeem Virginia. The tie that this movie has to 2001 is it was released 8 years after 2001. W5BLT.
No. The movie came out in 1968. It was called 2001: A Space Odyssey because it took place in the distant future.
I tried. It took place 8 years after 2001. Let's put it that way. Okay, so I didn't redeem it. W5BLT.
Oh, that's okay. By the way, I had a friend down here at my running group down here. We run like 6 days a week, and there's a gal who's very nice, very sincere, and very capable, but we can't talk about moon landings because she believes that we never went to the moon. And I say, okay, and we don't discuss it because there's no reason to. Facts and beliefs are two different things, so if it's a belief, there's no way you're going to argue your way out of it. So, I don't know. But I guess we can talk about 2001 because we didn't go to Jupiter. But anyway, okay. My comments. First off, 3D movies. Yes, I've seen them. In fact, before I left Detroit 1.5 million years ago, I went to see a series at the Detroit Institute of Arts 3D movie series, and I saw 3 of, I think, the 5 films that they had. I saw Creature from the Black Lagoon, that one in 3D on the big screen. I saw Dial M for Murder, the Alfred Hitchcock film, which was actually pretty cool. I think Alfred Hitchcock did a rather interesting job with it. I mean, he's kind of a mystery, almost film noir in the way he handles everything. His camera setups are always great and second to none, so I give him that, although there were some odd things with like flower planters sitting in front of chairs and things with people smoking and drinking, so in the investigative parts of Dial M for Murder. And then a musical, Kiss Me Kate. A lot of people don't know that was in 3D. That was a lot of fun to watch in 3D, I have to admit, all the dance numbers. And that. Other films I've seen is, Star Trek Into Darkness. I don't care. It just looked like junk all over the screen. And Space Hunter, I think it was called, from 1981. That's when the first time that 3D came back in my lifetime as a first-run film. That was super disappointing because it was not two cameras or polarized. It was 35 millimeters split up. It was blurry and dark. Terrible way to see a 3D film back then. Terrible. And that was also a terrible film as well. So don't watch it. It's never been on our list because I hate that film. It is so terrible. But at any rate, let's see. Other things. Music's forgettable. I didn't remember anything, and I don't know even who the composer is. Audio, okay. Visually, it was okay as far as what we saw. I imagine in 3D it was quite entertaining with the final sequence, which, as I said earlier, I think that's the whole reason why they made the movie, and none other, because nothing else made any sense, is they could have that Dolly-esque ending 3D thing going on with the collapsing world around them and all that stuff. Fine, wonderful, I don't care. That's about it. That's all I got to say about it. So, overall, kind of a forgettable film. I'd rather go watch The Lost Boys. Okay, maybe Tony might still be there. He may be past his bedtime, but Tony, NT5TM, you got anything, any parting shots, anything you want to say? Any 3D film or film you think we should be putting on the list? And she didn't get much to say tonight from KE5ICX.
N5BB is a couple of short comments.
Yeah, go ahead, Bill. I got to look for the next week's movie anyway. I think Tony has gone to bed, and I don't blame him. Go ahead.
Okay, this is N5BB. I think the problem is the birds have gone to bed. And I just have to thank Virginia, because we really don't know what's going on the movie until Virginia gives the cheesy report. And to paraphrase what she said earlier, I think she meant that this movie was very moldy. It was very moldy cheesy. But it was not stinky, rotten Limburger. It wasn't smelly. It wasn't smelly bad. It was just moldy bad. Okay? Thank you, Virginia, for giving us the cheesy report. That's always a good sign that we're down deep in the analysis of these movies. N5BB.
All right. Thank you, Bill. Okay, I went back and I'm looking here. The scheduled movies from YouTube are not there anymore, so I'm going to go to the next available film, and I will update this tomorrow and send out the thing. But next week's movie will be 1955's King Dinosaur in the uncut widescreen version with Burt Gordon with cheesy. Oh, it says with Burt Gordon cheesy special effects. 1955 King Dinosaur. That's it. See you next time, everyone. Have a great evening, and don't go falling into a trap door with an endless hole in the bottom. This is KE5ICX. Clear. Hey, we ended, 5 minutes early. How about that? We're so good. See y'all. KE5ICX. Clear.
Hey, Tom. Last time I looked, we had a good possibility of snow coming up here on Wednesday. So be glad you're down there in the tropical weather. N5BB clear.
All right, thank you, Bill. I wish it were tropical. It's been colder down here. I was out. We had one day. It was actually got down. We were supposed to get down to, I think, 27. I have to go back and look, but yeah, I agree. Today was a nice day. It was in the 80s, which was quite nice. And this morning did a 12-mile run through the what is it? There's a bird sanctuary or something down here, which was pretty nice. Of course, it was dark and there were no lights, but and it was kind of foggy, but it was kind of cool, and even still wasn't too bad. It's actually pretty nice overall. Yeah, I'm liking it down here. I miss my friends. I miss you guys up there, certainly, but I don't miss the weather. I will tell you that. And so overall, things are a little more mild down here. So all good. All right. See y'all later. KE5ICX. Clear.